Let's take a breath, and then take it away. You're not standing on land. You're drifting weightless, silent, in a world that predates everything you know. There are no dinosaurs here, no trees, no mammals, just water stretching into forever, and in it, giants. Not fairy tale giants, real ones. You turn your head and something the size of a truck glides past. Its shell gleams like polished bone. Tentacles trail like living ropes. Deeper still, another shadow stirs thicker than a subway train, older than mountains. This is the ocean before time, and it was never small. Before feet ever touched dry earth, evolution played its wildest games in the sea. Here, survival didn't go to the smartest or the fastest, it went to the biggest. For hundreds of millions of years, creatures ruled not by cunning, but by sheer size. But why? Why was everything in prehistoric oceans huge? This wasn't just one fluke. It happened again and again. Different species, different eras, same result. Towering monsters in a world without humans. From shelled leviathans to armored juggernauts, the ocean kept creating giants, over and over. So what secret was the sea hiding? Why did it give rise to such titans, and why did they vanish? It looked like a joke. A cone-headed beast drifting through ancient seas as if someone had stuck a traffic cone on a squid and called it a day. But Mosasaurus was no joke. This towering predator, with a rigid, tapering shell longer than a car, was once the apex of the Ordovician world. Not fast, not clever, just huge. Up to 20 feet of armored precision, drifting slowly but unchallenged. Its tentacles, dangling from the base like a fringe of rope, were the only hint of movement until it struck. It didn't need speed. It didn't need stealth. In an ocean filled with slow-motion prey and primitive competitors, size itself was the weapon. Mosasaurus ruled not because it was agile, but because it was untouchable. Its shell made it nearly invincible. Most predators couldn't even dream of breaking through it. Most didn't even try. But here's the twist. Mosasaurus wasn't some bizarre side note in evolution. It was a blueprint, one of the ocean's first experiments in turning mass into dominance. And it worked. For millions of years, it worked. Until the ocean changed the rules. Now picture this. Two titans drifting in from opposite ends of time. Mosasaurus, armored and ancient, and the giant squid, sleek, ghostly, and terrifyingly intelligent. It's not a fair fight. It was never supposed to be. Mosasaurus carries the weight of deep time, 700 pounds of rigid cone, evolution's first fortress. It's not built for speed. It's built to endure. In contrast, the giant squid is all instinct and fluid motion. Its tentacles like whips. Its brain one of the largest in the invertebrate world. And yet, we still ask, who would win? The squid could outmaneuver, outthink, even outwit its clumsy ancestor. But cracking Mosasaurus's armored shell? That's another matter. The squid's suckers wouldn't find purchase. Its beak would struggle for access. And yet, all Mosasaurus needs is a grip. One solid catch of those coiling tentacles, and it could drag the squid into a death roll of beaks and muscle. But here's the truth. They never met. They never could. These creatures are separated by 500 million years, an evolutionary canyon so vast, it's staggering. Still, this comparison isn't about winners. It's about how evolution keeps asking the same question. What does it take to dominate the ocean? And every time, it answers differently. In today's oceans, speed is survival. But back then, speed didn't matter. Nothing moved fast. There were no sharks darting through the currents, no dolphins breaching the surface. Just slow, soft-bodied life forms drifting in a primitive ballet. And in that quiet world, being enormous was enough. Mosasaurus didn't have to chase. It floated slowly, silently, until prey wandered close. It didn't have to hide. Its shell was a billboard of power, and it didn't have to fight competitors with agility or venom. All it had to do was be too big to mess with. It was a bizarre standoff of giants. Because here's the secret, the only predators Mosasaurus feared were other Mosasaurus. That's right, these massive creatures entered an evolutionary arms race with themselves. Bigger shells, stronger beaks, more reach, all to survive an ecosystem where every apex predator looked just like them. It was a world where evolution was a mirror, and what you feared most was your own reflection. But in evolution, what makes you untouchable can also make you extinct. Endoceras thrived in a world built for giants, slow seas, soft targets, and no real challengers. But nature doesn't stand still. As new predators emerged faster, sharper, and more precise, that towering cone shell turned from shield to shackle. The same design that once made Endoceras unstoppable now made it predictable. The ocean's arms race had moved on, and Endoceras couldn't keep up. Its massive body couldn't turn fast enough, couldn't flee, couldn't adapt. It was a relic in a battlefield that now favored speed over size. When early sharks entered the scene, everything changed. Sleek, flexible, and built for ambush, they carved through the water like scalpels, while Endoceras moved like a battering ram in a world of sniper rifles. And the ocean? It chose agility, so the giants fell not with a bang, but with a slow, silent fade into irrelevance. But the sea never stays quiet for long. As the cone-shelled titans vanished, the vacuum they left behind pulled in a new terror: the Eurypterids, sea scorpions, eight-legged nightmares that didn't crawl, they hunted. These weren't your backyard bugs. The largest, Jacalopterus, stretched over 8 feet long, claws raised, armored plates gleaming, eyes scanning for anything that moved. And like Endoceras, they too became giants. But not because they were slow. These predators thrived in shallow coastal waters, where agility meant everything and ambush ruled the day. In these murky killing grounds, bigger wasn't just better, it was survival. With no more orthocones to fear, Eurypterids competed with fish, with each other, and with an explosion of new prey species. Evolution didn't whisper, it screamed. Longer claws, thicker armor, faster strikes. Every encounter was a test, and only the massive survived. The sea had changed its language. It no longer spoke in slow giants. Now, it roared with armored speed. This was no longer just evolution, it was war. The oceans of the Silurian and Devonian weren't peaceful blue voids. They were battlefields, pulsing with conflict. Prey evolved armor. Predators countered with crushing jaws. Prey hardened again. Predators grew sharper. Over time, the ocean transformed into a biological arms race, and size wasn't just a luxury, it was a weapon. Enter the era of placoderms, fish wrapped in bone-plated armor, gliding like tanks through prehistoric seas. No scales, just shields. Jaws not lined with teeth, but with self-sharpening bone blades. Everything was either building a fortress or trying to smash one down. The logic was brutal. The tougher your opponent, the stronger you had to become. And in a world where evolution gave no second chances, scaling up was the fastest way to win. These creatures weren't just surviving, they were escalating. The ocean wasn't just a place to live anymore, it was a proving ground. Then came the final boss of the Devonian seas, a name whispered in every corner of ancient waters: Dunkleosteus. If armor had a god, it would look like this. Imagine a fish with a skull made of bone plates thicker than steel, fused into a crushing jaw that didn't even need teeth, just raw slicing power. Some grew over 30 feet long, but it wasn't just the size that terrified everything around it. It was the bite, capable of generating over 8,000 pounds of force per square inch, strong enough to split through other armored fish like a can opener. And it did. We found fossils of Dunkleosteus with bite marks from other Dunkleosteus. Cannibals, apex predators in a world where even they feared their own. This wasn't survival of the fittest, it was annihilation of the almost fit. A world where only the most brutal, the most armored, and the most massive could hold their place atop the food chain even for a moment. Nature had created its perfect weapon. But perfection doesn't last forever. If you've been paying attention, a pattern should be emerging. A dark, relentless rhythm to life beneath the waves. Every era, a new terror rises. First, the cone-shelled Endoceras, then the clawed Eurypterids, then the armored Dunkleosteus. Each time, evolution forges giants. Each time, they become the apex. Each time, they fall. Why? Because gigantism isn't just power, it's a trap. The bigger you get, the harder it is to adapt. Your prey changes, your world changes, but your size doesn't. And so, with every new arms race, the ocean resets. New species evolve, the old giants vanish. Nature starts again, different players, same game. Gigantism isn't evolution's masterpiece. It's her gamble. It wins the game until it doesn't. And in that loss, entire lineages are wiped clean from Earth's story. The sea remembers them, though. In its silence, it remembers everything. Then came the Cretaceous, the age of reptiles, and the ocean didn't whisper anymore. It roared. Warm, shallow seas stretched across the planet, teeming with life. Coral reefs, the size of countries. Plankton bloomed so dense they painted the water. And into this world swam giants forged for chaos. Mosasaurs, pliosaurs, chronosaurs. Not fish, not mammals, but cold-blooded leviathans built like torpedoes, with jaws that could crush a truck. These weren't just big, they were predators designed for domination. Everything had to scale up. If you were prey, you had to be massive just to survive. If you were a hunter, you had to be monstrous to compete. Even creatures we think of as slow like turtles became titans. This wasn't evolution being clever. This was evolution going all in. The ocean had become an arena, and only monsters could play. Enter Archelon, the gentle giant of a brutal age. Forget everything you know about turtles. Archelon wasn't some slow-moving beachcomber. It was a 3-foot-long behemoth, its leathery shell wider than a pickup truck, its flippers sculpted like the wings of a jet. This creature didn't crawl. It glided, crossing oceans in search of food, mates, and safety from things far bigger than itself. But why would a turtle need to be so massive? Because in the Cretaceous seas, everything was trying to eat you. Mosasaurs patrolled the depths. Giant sharks sliced through the shoals. To survive, you had to be large enough that even predators hesitated. Archelon wasn't a predator. It was a survivor. A slow heartbeat in a fast, deadly world. Its size wasn't about aggression. It was about endurance. And in a sea full of monsters, that made Archelon a quiet titan, a floating fortress with nowhere to hide. But no amount of armor or size could stop what came from the sky. 66 million years ago, a rock the size of a city slammed into Earth, and in an instant, the reign of marine giants was over. The impact didn't just kill the dinosaurs. It boiled oceans, blocked sunlight, and collapsed food chains from top to bottom. The titans of the sea, once unchallenged, were now starving, blind, and doomed. Mosasaurs, Archelon, chronosaurs, all gone. Not because they were weak, but because no ecosystem, no matter how grand, survives extinction-level chaos. The ocean reset. Evolution's chessboard was flipped, and when the dust finally settled, the giants had vanished. Their blueprints buried in limestone and memory. But here's the haunting part. They were so close. A few more million years, and who knows what they might have become. The sea doesn't mourn, it simply starts again. But after the silence, something strange happened. The giants never came back. Not the reptiles, at least. Despite once ruling the seas, they never reclaimed their throne. And it wasn't just the asteroid. The world had changed, and it had moved on without them. Why? Because reptiles are cold-blooded, and modern oceans are built for warm-blooded killers. Whales, orcas, great white sharks. These predators burn hot, move fast, and strike with precision. They can dive deeper, swim farther, and hunt longer, powered by internal heat and insulated by blubber. Reptiles can't keep up. Their bodies aren't built to chase across thousands of miles. They can't withstand freezing depths or sustain bursts of speed in cold currents. And worst of all, the prey they once feasted on is gone. No more schools of armored fish. No more giant ammonites. Just leaner food chains with fewer calories to spare. So the blueprint for reptilian gigantism wasn't just erased, it was made obsolete. And yet, not all giants vanished. Some slipped through the cracks, survivors of a forgotten era, still drifting beneath the waves. The leatherback sea turtle, tipping the scales at over 2,000 pounds, crossing oceans on silent migrations. The giant squid, stretching over 40 feet, lurking in twilight zones where sunlight never reaches, and towering above them all, the blue whale, not just a survivor, but the largest animal to ever live on Earth. Bigger than any dinosaur, bigger than any mosasaur, a heart the size of a small car, a tongue heavier than an elephant. So, gigantism didn't die. It simply changed its face. Today's giants are more specialized, more elusive, and far less violent. They don't crush armored skulls or battle in cannibalistic frenzies. They live in niches powered by evolution, yes, but also by efficiency, adaptation, and restraint. They are whispers of a time when the ocean screamed. But what if the ocean screamed again? What if, tomorrow, the world changed another extinction, another reset? Would evolution press rewind or fast forward? If food chains collapsed, if warm-blooded predators faltered, would something else rise to take their place? Could we see giant dolphins, engineered by time into torpedo-shaped hunters with sonar like thunder? Or squids that grow even larger, building intellect and instinct into something terrifyingly new? History tells us this much. When the sea is shaken, it does not rebuild quietly. It answers with monsters massive, strange, and unrelenting. The arms race never truly ends. It just pauses, waiting. And somewhere, deep in the abyss, maybe the next giant is already growing slow, silent, patient. Because in the ocean, nothing stays small forever.